apprehend God in all things, for God is in all things. Every single creature is filled with God and is a book about God. Amen. Sorry about last night. Florida State's still undefeated, though. Just saying. I want to make sure you're listening. So really, what I really want to say is I started this training program and went out to this place right outside of Albuquerque for training in the contemplative kind of branch of Christianity. And there were people from all over the world there, South Africa, India, Canada, Europe, and all over across the United States. So I felt really honored to be a part of it all. And after one of the breaks we took, I was standing there talking to somebody, and we were standing right next to these glass doors. You know, there were two, each had a handle, two sides. One side was locked, and the other side was open. So I'm standing there talking to this guy, and out of my periphery, I see somebody walk up. And they walk up to the locked side of the door and just start banging on it, bang, 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 bang. And they're pulling it as hard as they can. And immediately I thought of this cartoon that I put on the front of your... You see this cartoon? I'm thinking, people from all over the world! Who let this guy in? He can't even get in the door. And there we go, off to the races. I'm off to the races with my judgment of this guy based on this one thing. I've just about got him pegged. I know he's an idiot. Right? One thing. I really could have used Paul's writings from today. I really could have used especially the part that says, Thom, who are you to pass judgment on another? Who in the world are you to pass judgment on another? You see, all great spiritual traditions say the same thing about this. Do not judge. Do not judge. We're all in agreement. But the thing about it is, judging is fun, isn't it? Don't you think? I mean, it's fun. I could have just spent hours making fun of that guy for banging. And I would have just had a great time. Just a great time. You know, it's fun. It's something that I just think is part of our human nature. At least it is mine. It's almost like a reflex. You know? So I think this idea of do not judge really has more to do with don't let your judgments have power over you. Don't let them rule you. Okay, and this is what I mean. This is how it plays itself out in my life. So, the guy's banging away, and I let him in. Come on in. And as soon as he comes in, I notice he looks like Gomer Pyle. Remember Gomer Pyle? Okay, if Gomer Pyle's too old for you, he looks like Elmer Fudd, kind of. If Elmer Fudd's too old for you, he looks like Forrest Gump. Okay, so you get what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure he had on overalls. I'm pretty sure, but no, not really. He didn't have overalls. But he looks like that. So, okay, so there's a little bit of judgment coming out right there. And then he says, and I let him in, he says, hey, and I'm changing his name, but he says, hey, my name is Buford Jones, and I'm from Mudville, Arkansas. And I said, well, bless your heart. I didn't say it out loud. I said it in my head. I said it in my head. Well, bless your heart. Of course you are. Of course you're from there, right? Yeah. So here's more judgment. And you know what's happening now, see, is my judgment is starting to blind me. I can't see him. I can just see these preconceived notions I've got of what it means to come from a place like that. and to sound like him and to look like him and to not be able to get in a locked door. My judgments blind me to him, and so I can't see him. It's one of the dangers of judgments. I can't see him. I can just see my judgments of him. So he comes in, like I said, he's in, and we start chatting about, like, he asks me where I'm from and what I do, and I say, I'm an Episcopal priest in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I'm sure that he's got some judgment about that. I certainly do. and so I say to him, well, what do you do? And he says, I'm a Baptist minister. And I said, I knew it! I knew that's what you were. I knew exactly that's what you were. How in the world did a Baptist minister sneak into this thing? What are you doing here? There's no way we're going to have anything in common. You come from that tradition, I come from a totally... We're not going to have anything in common. So you see what's happening? So I go from blindness to now my judgments are really inhibiting any chance I have with having a relationship with this guy. You see, my judgments, and all judgments, diminish, if not destroy, relationships. All judgments diminish, if not destroy, relationships. As soon as I start judging somebody else, I'm not going to be able to love them like Chris was talking about last week. So I can't see him, can't love him, we can't be in relationship. And this is, I'm telling you, this is about 5 minutes right here. So we keep chatting. And the next kind of obligatory question you have to ask at a time like this is, so what brought you here? And he says this. He said, in my previous church that was in another state, all I ever did was preach against people. He said, I preached against you Episcopals all the time. It was great. It's like, oh, they don't believe anything. They certainly don't believe the Bible. Look at what they're doing. And he said, and you know what? People liked it. He said, people praised me for it. My church was growing. He said, but, and these are his words, but I had no joy or love in my heart. And I didn't want to just walk around my whole life being angry at everybody else. So that's why I'm here. And right there in that moment, all my judgments are smashed. And what I realize is, he is me. And all the judgments that I had prior to that were about me. They were things in me that I either couldn't see or wouldn't see, so I put them on him. Because he is me. He's a man just like I am, trying to live his life and trying to live his Christian faith to the best of his ability. This judgment thing, this back and forth judgment, it's not new. It's not a new thing. It's been going on since people have been around. That's what Paul's writing about. Just briefly, he's writing to a small little church that has two factions within this church. One saying, this is the right way to do it, and another saying, no, this is the right way to do it. And they're going back and forth and back and forth. We're right, you're wrong, we're right, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And he says, stop it! Stop! You do not have to give your judgment so much energy. You do not have to give your judgment so much energy. You do not have to attach to your judgments. Because, like with this guy, they'll change as time goes on. So you don't have to give them that energy. As a matter of fact, he says, if you really want to look at one another with true eyes, he says, then there's something prior to any judgment of anybody else going on. There's something prior. And that something is this. We do not live to ourselves, and we do not die to ourselves. If we live to the Lord. And if we die to the Lord. So then, whether we live or whether we die, we are the Lord's. So then, whether we live or whether we die, we are the Lord's. So that means that you and me and that Baptist minister out in Arkansas and everybody else belongs to God. That God is with us, that God is in us, and that we live our lives in God every day. That comes before any judgment of who we might think we are and who we might think somebody else is. A very wise man writes it this way, for those of you who like this kind of stuff. He writes it this way. If God is Trinity and Jesus is the face of God, then it is a benevolent universe. If God is Trinity and Jesus is the face of God, then we live in a benevolent universe. God is not someone to be afraid of, but is the ground of being, and God is on our side. God is on our side. So if God is on our side, that means God is on everybody's side. So we can be on each other's side. Because we are the Lord's. You know, probably right around now in Mudville, Arkansas, that Baptist guy is preaching. Thanks be to God.